Hi everyone, my name is Timehin. I'm an Adobe insider and I'm here with a good friend of mine who I know all about, but for the viewers at home, Cornelius.
Hi, I'm Cornelius Walker and I'm a director and writer.
Cool, let's get straight into it. So I want to go right back to the start. Tell me a little bit about how you got your foot into the creative industry. What was that process like?
Oh, wow. It was like a spark of inspiration, or I would say spark of encouragement, because I moved to Canada and I was just kind of like new to the country, didn't really make any friends, and just felt like, oh, I don't know how to do it. And this English teacher kind of just would see I was by myself all the time. And then we just got to talking, and I just showed her this book I was writing, and she was like, oh, you remind me of like a French writer. And I'm like, why are you lying? Like, you're just saying this to make me feel good, but I needed that encouragement. And so in her class, I read this book called The Alchemist, which kind of really thought, okay, maybe there's something I can do in this world. And then I watched this film called Into the Wild it was written and directed by Sean Penn. And when I read this book, watched this film, I was like, whatever this film made me feel, I want to make other people feel like that. And then from that moment, I'm like, not saying everyone else should do it, but I dropped out of classes, only stayed in her one, and I would literally read a script and watch a film every single day from that point. Moved back to London and went to a film school for a little while. After that, worked in Olympics, and I met I met a lady who I worked with, and she was like, we'll place bets on the like fencing fencing games, and then she was like, you should come work with me at ITV. I was like, you know, that's not gonna happen, right? And she said, why? I said, tried to like, how are they gonna let me in? She said, do you know what? Call them and say, I heard you have a job for me. And I'm thinking, okay. So I called ITV Studios and said, hey, I heard you had a job for me. And the woman on the phone laughed for about 2 minutes. And then she was like, funny enough, we have a runner position. She said, send your CV. I sent my CV, and literally I worked for ITV for about 2 years. And then after working there, I just said, you know what, I really want to do film. And so I started, made a friend there, and he actually DOP'd my first short film. And that was the beginning of my journey.
Damn. Wow. One of the biggest things that stands out to me throughout the whole of that is having guidance and people mentoring you and people opening doors. So a survey recently, it showed that only 4.4% of the creative industry are made up of people from Black, Asian, and minority ethnic backgrounds.
Wow.
Which, are you that surprised? I'm not that surprised because we live it, we see it.
I'm not that surprised, but for it to be single digits,
yes.
Yeah, I'm surprised with that. Yeah.
And they did a further survey to find out why that was, and 3 of the biggest contributors to that statistic being a reality is that people from these backgrounds don't have access to mentors or people that can open the doors for them. They don't have access to networks either, or communities to learn. And thirdly, parents and family and people who are, we've been through those situations ourselves, right? Parents and families not being supportive of it because, well, many different reasons. Have you felt any of those pressures?
Funny enough, every single one you mentioned. And yeah, I remember when I first kind of decided I wanted to do film, like my mum was kind of like, what do you want to do that for? And I'm like, you watch films every single night, so you can watch my films, but the support wasn't there until I started to communicate with her a bit more and say, hey, this is how much I could make, this is what I could do. Then when she started seeing like me travel different countries and just how happier I was, it helped. But like, when I think of it, like in a weird way, that kind of created, the lack of support creates imposter syndrome. Because I kind of felt like I'm not worthy. So it's hard.
It is hard. It's an ongoing battle. Do you think that imposter syndrome has led to your success now because you feel like you've had to overachieve to show people that you are worthy?
Yeah, I feel like it's a paradox because it's like, it's bittersweet. It's bittersweet because you want to be able to enjoy your job and you want to be able to walk into a room without feeling this weird anxiety and stress and just kind of, like I always see it in I I know it sounds weird to say, but like white counterparts, how they're so like relaxed. But I feel like upon feeling imposter syndrome, you always feel like, okay, I'm also black, and I have to like. There's one time I got a job at Google, and my friend said to me, "You know that you represent our entire race." I said, "What?" I felt the most heaviest weight on my shoulders, and so it's good in the sense that you all want to overachieve, but it damages you internally. It's good on the outside, but it damages you later on internally. And I think I even experienced that after Black Sheep. Like it took me almost a year internally to get back to normal.
Wow.
So yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Black Sheep then, right? So for those of you at home who haven't watched Black Sheep, you have to watch it. It's incredible. I mean, do you want to give a little intro as to what it is?
Black Sheep is a short documentary I did about my childhood growing up in Essex, and it went on to being Oscar nominated.
Say that with chest, man.
Yeah, it went on to be Oscar nominated. I don't even. I feel like I'm still taking it in myself sometimes.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things about Black Sheep that stood out to me was the level of representation, right? And I say that because representation is a common word that's being used now for brands to represent and to show support, right? But I think what Black Sheep did was showed a side of representation that was very, very pure, and it was something that a lot of people could relate to.
Yeah.
What does representation mean to you? I mean,
representation means to me being seen, and not just being seen on your outward, but your inward too. Like I think sometimes we do, like, not that we do, but divisive words are used, like this person, that person, whatever person. But the one race that we always seem to forget about sometimes is the human race. And I think that's the race that should be considered before anything. And I think with Black Sheep, for me, it was like, sometimes I just kind of feel like you see, like, racism's always seen on the outward. It's like, oh, they said this or that or this, yeah, they did that to them, but you don't actually see the inward effect and the inward pain it causes, people, like black people. It's painful. It affected me to my adulthood, and like it's only now only now I'm getting older that I've actually learned to love and accept myself. So I think I wanted to do it because I wanted to change the conversation on racism. That like, no, let's not cause another divisive piece of material to cause division, but let's create a conversation like, okay, so this affects you mentally also. Yes. So now you can, when you're talking about racism now, you can now help kids with their self-image and how they think of themselves and how they view themselves when they go into the work world or the big wild world, the big workforce. And that's what it was for me.
Damn. It was powerful work, I can tell you that.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about the process then. Why did you want to create it as a short doc?
I actually wanted to do it as a film. Like I'm really heavily, like I love Shane Meadows' work on This Is England. And I kind of saw myself as Milky's character, but with a bit of like, the main character's elements in terms of being inducted into a thing. So I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna make my version of This Is England. And then literally, like our failure really, because I applied for Creative England and my fault completely, the script wasn't wonderful. And then I met Ed Perkins and he was just like, bro, like, this might be really good as a documentary, like the way that you talk, this could really work. And I'm just like, you must be bluffing, because I'm the man behind the camera, not the man in front of the camera. And so after we started talking about it, I was just like, do you know what? Okay, I'll do it. And I just started, we thought about the Imposter, and then literally after he just told me how we're gonna film it, I just said to myself, I need to practice being in front of screen. So I used to run a production company with my friends, and we used to rent kit every Friday for a football thing that we were filming. And so I'll just sit in front of the camera every Friday and start practicing what it feels like to be in front of it. And so, yeah, even when we pitched it to The Guardian, they thought I was an actor. They didn't feel like they didn't think, oh, this is his actual story. And then when Ed kind of said, oh, no, this is him, they were like, okay, cool. What's the next steps?
So that's a good topic to talk on. A lot of aspiring creators might want to know how to get that kind of funding or that backing from people like The Guardian. So for someone new to the industry, what would you suggest?
I would just say it's networking. Really, realistically, like we all heard the story is who you know, and realistically, is who you know. And I would just say, just keep making and don't be afraid to, if you see a piece of work, find out who made it and email them. For me, I just say it's actually just going out your comfort zone and talking to people with the money and seeing if it's something that might interest them. And if they say no, cool, it's gonna be a better yes, just keep going.
Let's talk a little bit about Adobe being in your journey, right?
Yeah.
Because I know for me, Adobe opened up a new world to me.
Yeah.
In terms of learning how to use software and what I could do with that software to get my visions out, how I envision them really.
Yeah.
Is there any software that you've gelled with in particular, any Adobe software?
With all the filmmakers at the time, they were using, like the Coen brothers really did this massive push with Final Cut Pro. And if you don't really understand encoding and trying to get your footage and having to encode it and put it onto a timeline, my gosh, I didn't understand any of that jargon. So Premiere Pro came and all I had to do was drag and drop my footage onto the timeline. I said, what? For someone like me, that changed the game for me, because now I didn't have to rely on somebody else or wait for them. I could literally just take my own initiative and say, hey, I can actually do it. And then also, I'm not saying I'm the best editor, but it allowed me to take some like edit assistant jobs, because I could just pull it on the timeline, cut the pieces for my friends, and then, pay me a little money there and here and there. And then even InDesign, like obviously when you're doing your treatments, like I'm not doing my treatment on PowerPoint. So it's just like, for me, InDesign kind of made my presentations, it gave it that professional look. You know, like I'm not the best graphic designer in the world, but when I use InDesign, I feel like I am.
Well, that's interesting as well. I know for me, one of the biggest things with Adobe was not only like its accessibility, right? But the fact so many people use it, it means you can find out anything you want to know on the internet. Anything. Like, I'm self-taught. I think you're self-taught as well. And we found heaps of knowledge and heaps of tutorials on Adobe's website, on YouTube, on Skillshare. There are so many creators out there who are willing to share knowledge.
Yeah.
And yeah, with the sort of ease of Adobe software, it's easy to get to grips with stuff quickly.
100. I think all the upcoming creatives, I think majority of them will say they use Adobe Premiere Pro, like because of just how easy it makes your life. Like there's no, like you don't have to know every single piece of jargon to be able to use it. So for me, I just like, for someone who's self-taught and needed help and couldn't have any mentors, or, you know, I had me and my friends. Like Adobe made my life so much easier.
Man, facts. All right, what's next? What's in the pipeline? What's happening?
You know how it is. You're always trying to do something. So yeah, I'm just I'm trying to transition now into TV. Trying to develop a feature film, and I'm just like really just, if I'm being honest, I'm just at a stage I just want to create. So I'm just trying to create, trying to pitch for as much things as possible, try and direct things as much things as possible. And I've got a short film I'm working on, which I should be hopefully directing in the next couple of months.
Cool. Well, all the best. I mean, you know you got it. All excited to see what's coming up, and yeah, man, proud of you. Keep doing your thing. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching. If you have any questions, hit us up on Instagram. Cornelius will have his Instagram in the bio. I'll put mine as well. And check out Adobe's website, where you can find some more helpful tips and tricks about getting your foot into the industry and making money. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed. Thank you so much. A big shout out to Adobe and to BAFTA Guru Live, and we'll catch you guys soon. Peace.